All right, guys, we got another one to talk about here, man. Thank you for taking your time to spend a little time with me. So we'll jump right into this. But of course, before we do so, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, cut on your notifications, and hit that like button. So of course, guys, what I'm going to talk about, man, is what they are talking about here in this trailer. If you haven't seen it or listened to it yourself, the link to the actual video is down in the description, so you can hear it for yourself. But I definitely want to talk about the principle of what's being offered here. Dynamic game day components, which will feature game day atmosphere, game day momentum, and next-gen stats star-driven AI. So, of course, I reserve my full judgment until the game is actually presented, on day one. So whether that's EA Access or more so the launch of the game when, the day one or day zero, as they call it, patches in the game, that's when I can really give my full opinion on what the game is or isn't. And I don't look forward to the future in terms of patches that come down the road. Maybe in this case, title update that will include scouting. That's going to be, definitely a big opinion. And a lot of us will have more opinions, in September. But I'm just talking about on the surface. These things that's in here and the current franchise features and current gameplay, whatever they're doing in gameplay, I always reserve my full opinion until the day the game releases, because then at least at that point you're able to give an evaluation on what was presented. But let's just talk about what they're offering here. Listen, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is stuff that I've been asking for many years, and I can't be mad at the fact that they're being offered finally in Madden. I've always talked about some type of momentum component. I never feel like the game sways in one direction or the other. I know a lot of us, you've heard people in the community talk about DDA and things like that controlling the experience. But even if that is the case, it still never felt like momentum was shifting. It never felt like an organic change in momentum or, a cause and an effect for something that you did. And you definitely didn't have home field advantage. Again, how long have you guys heard me talk about that? Well, I've talked about NCAA features that I wanted to translate into Madden. We all talk about composure. You've heard me talk about that several times. And look, you're kind of seeing it right there on screen now, where the lines will disappear and, the receiver may not be able to hear the hot route and guys getting more tired because they're in Denver. And again, if you've played the beta, playing in Seattle was a monster. I haven't really tested any of the other stadiums. I definitely want to play a game in Kansas City as well to see how that atmosphere is. Because I'm going to tell you one thing that you will notice right off the bat, whether you are for or against it, is the crowd. The crowd, the sound, the audio is a lot different in Madden 22. It's extremely loud, especially if you got you a nice set of headphones or if you play on a surround sound bar, whatever the case. You definitely can tell the crowd is alive. The swells are there, no question. But again, all of this sounds great on paper. We have to see how it's going to translate. And again, if you're playing the beta, you can see some of these things that are actually playing out in the game. I've definitely experienced a lot of these things. But again, it's always going to come down to how the game plays out. It's interesting that I say that right there as they show the core gameplay improvements. This is definitely what I've talked about, man, on the Sim Standard podcast just last week. The biggest areas that you'll notice, in my opinion, is player movement, is tackling. And also, it seems as if Clint may have confirmed something that I've been thinking right here. Remember this part right here when you listen for yourself. You're going to hear Clint say that you have more control in catching and one-to-one, or he said more one-on-one battles. And don't quote me as that being verbatim, but he said something to that effect of it being more one-on-one interactions or one-on-one battles at the catch point, which makes me feel like, are they starting to move away from two-man animation? Of course, slowly but surely, because you still are going to see it in the game. I've seen it in the game, but I can say at the catch points, I'm not really seeing it. I'm not feeling like I'm not in control for the most part. So I think they may have been able to marry the animation, with player relative positioning and things of that nature. Listen, I don't know. Maybe when they do a deep dive, they can go more into that. But again, I found it interesting that Clint did mention that more one-on-one battles. So what I felt like I've been experiencing, he mentioned that. So it definitely makes me wonder, what exactly are they doing in that space? And like I said, it's definitely not in regards to the entire game. You're going to see animations still that are going to trigger in the trenches and things like that. But I can say I haven't really seen a lot of warps and shifts. I'm sure they're there, but the obvious ones I'm not seeing, especially in the catching game. I haven't seen that that animation. You guys have all seen it on a slant or a drag where the DB and the receiver both dive together, and for whatever reason, the DB always dives a little bit ahead of you, and it's an interception. Have not seen any of that. I haven't seen the animation where on a streak where the DB warps into position to make the play. Now again, is it gone 100%? I don't think so. But from what Clint is saying, yeah, I've seen more situations that appear to be one-to-one interaction. Like I said, it's probably more so a combination of independent animation and two-man. And what I mean by that is maybe the distance is shorter or something of that nature where it's not as obvious, plays out cleaner. I don't know. But anyway, man, getting back to what you're seeing here in the video, I appreciate all of this stuff. I appreciate the atmosphere. I appreciate, receivers acting like they can't hear the quarterback because it's hostile and momentum. All of that stuff is necessary because you guys always hear me say this. I am a simulation guy, but simulation is more than just what happens on the field. It's also the atmosphere, the sounds, the momentum. All of that stuff plays a role when you're trying to replicate a sport. So as much as I am a gameplay guy, I'm just as big on things like this and presentation. So, hey, like I said, man, it's good to see Madden making significant changes, in my opinion. When you consider everything that they're doing in franchise mode and, some of this other stuff here, it may seem small to some, but again, we're talking about a franchise that most of us will agree that it has moved more at a snail's pace. It's been slow, right? It's been very slow. Now, even this stuff right here, the player tendencies, you see that. You definitely see an improvement in the run game. Again, everything hasn't been tuned the way it's supposed to be because, they're talking about here how teams will be more team specific as far as the way they, play call and all of that type of stuff. I know it's hard to judge all of that right now because it's still in beta stage or what have you. But what you are seeing is the CPU running backs are definitely a lot smarter. No question about that. I've definitely seen quarterbacks take off and run when it's more necessary. I still want to see more accuracy penalties for, CPU quarterbacks, the lower rated guys. So, I've already given some feedback on that. So we'll see what happens going forward. But like I said, man, just to get back to the point, this stuff that they're bringing to the game is significant if you are a guy like me. Because if they move at this pace for a few more years, then Madden could very well be where you all would want it to be. Because we all have different things that we want out of the game. Ultimately, we all have the same goal. But if they continue to move at this pace, particularly with what they've done in franchise mode and what they're bringing to the table here in gameplay. And of course, we still got to hear more about gameplay. I still want to know, more details in terms of what they're doing because you heard Clint talk about momentum and things like that. So I want to know to what degree, these things are addressed. And I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed already that there will be a gameplay deep dive. So I can't wait to get that because again, there's certain things that I feel like I'm experiencing in the beta, just little nuanced things that I'm seeing that I can't confirm yet. So I can't wait till we at least hear some concrete information from the dev team in regards to, everything that was done gameplay wise. But like I said, man, just to wrap up this video, and I didn't intend for it to be this long, everything that they're bringing with the game day, the dynamic game day and momentum, I really, really appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. And I have felt more immersed in the game as I've played the beta, especially in franchise, because I'm seeing these ups and downs and I'm seeing the home field advantage. And I think there's huge potential right there. Again, I can't judge it fully until we see what unfolds. But like I said, man, it's been a long time since I've felt like, as you know, in totality, that Madden has done a lot in one cycle. And again, everybody might not agree, but this is just my opinion and I'm sticking to it. You know, it doesn't matter what everybody thinks about my opinion or what have you. I don't care about any of that. You know, so yeah, I think this is going to be good for simulation guys. And I definitely understand the comp crowd. You know, I've already saw a couple guys complaining about it and saying, I get it. Listen, I'm one of those people that I'm not offended by the comp crowd. Like, I understand where those guys want the game to go in terms of tournament. And that's why, to me, having the different settings should have more effect. You know, if it's a competitive game, you know, who am I to say that it should be real this, real that? I get it. You know, it's still a video game at the end of the day. But as long as my mode, if I choose to play simulation style, and as long as I'm getting more of a simulation experience, I'm cool. I don't care what you do in arcade or competitive. So you're never gonna hear me slander guys in that community. For what? You know, they make valid points. It's a video game that you're playing competitively for money, then you might not want as many random things happening. That's a fair point. But anyway, just to wrap this video up, guys, I hope, hope what you heard here is worthy of a like. And if it is, don't forget to hit that like button. Of course, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and cut on your notifications. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.